Alright, folks, another episode of the MAWBR podcast has commenced. In this one, I wanted to talk about. I was jotting down notes by everything that I can remember in terms of memories for this subject. And that is the whole thing about school transportation, aka the bus system. Just saying those words are starting to bring back some bad memories. So, I jotted down notes about memories in this of why I hated riding the bus for school. Like, big time. Some of them are for elementary school, some middle, and some high, of course. And some of them I cannot remember the exact years that they happened, so I'll have them as generalized in some certain period. At least from what I can remember from kindergarten, first grade, the earliest memory I can remember of not liking the bus was that there was some bitch, whose name I couldn't remember. I know she was older than me, that always commanded that I sit with her and would not let me move or speak or anything like that. It's like, you sit right here, you listen. It's just like, I don't know what this bitch's problem was. Saying, don't move, don't talk, just sit forward, force me to sit with her and commanding me like she's my mother. Bitch, fuck off. So it's I don't remember what grade. It was either kindergarten or first grade. I know it was one of those early years. Then, first grade, I remember this very well, was that you had this assigned bus seat system to where, within seats, you had to sit in a specific seat every day when you're coming home, the bus ride home. You always had to sit with the same person. There were these little paper name tags or whatever on the seats, and of course, I had to sit with a guy who was a complete dickhead to me that entire school year that I also had to share a locker with. And it's this guy was... I hated this guy. And for some reason, there was this one day where he lied to the bus driver. I think we might have had a substitute bus driver. And he tried claiming that I was not in the correct seat, even though my name was on the seat. Yet this bitch did not fucking listen to me. She was listening to the guy who kept claiming that I'm not in the seat I'm supposed to be with. It's dude, my name is right there. I'm next to the window. And yet she makes me sit up front. It's what the fuck? I know my own identity, ho! But no, you friggin' listen to this dipshit. And all of a sudden I have to sit up front even though I know what my seat is. I know what my name is. I can fucking read elementary school. But no. Let's see, second grade, I could not remember anything, but there was one incident in third grade. Oh, I remember this very, very well. So, we all know I'm here in Michigan. And what did we get in the wintertime very well? Snow! Ho ho ho. So I remember this, I can't remember the exact month, but I know it was in the wintertime of that school year. And there was one of the last stops we had to get to in order to get to school. And it was a four-way, dirt road in a way, but it also had ditches at every corner. The bus driver, I think it might have been a substitute as well in this one. She turned onto the road to get right to the next house, so we had to pick the next person up off a bit too early. And because there was snow there, you couldn't see the ditch, and we ended up going headfirst into the ditch right there. Bus completely crooked because of the landing in there, and we were just oh shit, this is not good. It's just what the fuck, man. Let's see, 4th and 5th grade, I don't remember anything in terms of stuff with the bus, but 6th grade, I remember this because I have this mentioned in a video on my Zuniga is the Man channel on YouTube. 3 bus accidents in one school year. And this was the very same bus driver I had as a bus driver in 3rd grade. So, what happened was, this bus driver we have, no disrespect to her, but everybody else hated her. Completely. Her biggest bad habit she always did, she's constantly pumping on the brakes, just boom, boom, boom. You could feel that bus rocking back and forth, and it was pissing everybody off. And I remember there was even one day where the back half of the bus, everybody's just 1, 2, 3, and then they looked at her and they screamed, "Bitch!" All in unison at her. Because everybody was just mad at her because of how she drove. I mean, this bus driver also didn't have good hearing. I mean, there was one time somebody said, "Cool Whip." She's "Watch your language." And there was another person that said Axe, because they were referring to Axe body spray. "Watch your language." Really? But this woman's driving was not the best. In that same school year, we got into 3 bus accidents. The first instance, I remember it was within the first month or 2 of the school year. And this actually not only made the front page of the local newspaper, but also appeared on the news. So what happened was, we were just on that last stop that we had to get to for the last kid down the road from what was the high school at the time. So we had to pick him up. We were just down the road. And just as we were ready to start the bus up in order to go down the road, because we finished picking the kid up, all of a sudden, boom! We're rear-ended by another bus. Now, according to the report, the bus driver of the other bus said that their brakes didn't work, but I think according to a test, the brakes were fine. And you look back there, the bumper was knocked off, and the glass around with the door and the windows back there were just shattered because of the impact from the other bus. And thankfully I was alright, because I was somewhere within the first few seats in the front of the bus, so I did not feel any impact. But I remember, that bus jumped forward, we were like, whoa! And so it was a scary fucking thing there. And I remember I saw the Channel 13 news, and they were like, 2 buses of the school district collided today. I'm just like, great. And it's like, nobody was seriously injured. I know the people in the back of the bus, they had to get treated for, cuts and bumps and bruises, because they were right back there, and there was broken glass. People were sore and everything. And I know that by the time we got to the school a little bit later, there were some kids who feigned saying that they weren't feeling well a little bit because they just wanted to go home. I just went on with my day. I'm just like, hey, I didn't suffer any injuries. I'm not sore. I'm fine. I just went by my day like nothing happened. Of course, my mom, I think, picked me up from school at the end of the day, and she was worried because she heard the fucking news. And it's just like, well, it happened. So it's like, at least it was not the driver or bus driver's fault. Second bus accident was a bit later on that school year, sometime in the winter, so it was either the end of that physical year or the beginning of the next one. I can't remember the exact month, but this was at the end, after school went out. I think we were a few blocks away from where the high school was, because we had to head south on the road and then turn east to pull into that front loop that you have there where the buses are all lined up to pick up the high schoolers. We were at a stoplight, and because it was icy and all that shit out there, because #Michigan, boom, rear-ended by another bus again. I don't think there was any broken glass this time around, and nobody had to seek medical attention. But again, the bumper fell off the bus, so we couldn't do anything. Third accident. We were so pissed off. So again, this was at the end. This was, I think, not too long before the school year ended, within the last couple of months. We were pulling in to the high school to pick up the high schoolers. And unfortunately, the bus driver chose to have bad timing when to pull in there. And what happened was we pulled in there on the right side to curve left to parking with the buses. And it was either a Jeep or another car ended up hitting us on the passenger rear side of the bus. I don't remember if they hit the tire or the top or the rear corner of the bus. And then another vehicle hit that one, so we got impacted twice. One of them I know was a car, the other one was a Jeep, so we felt 2 impacts back to back. And everybody on the bus in unison was like, no! Because 3 accidents in a year. This time, it was like the bus driver had bad timing pulling into the freaking lot right there. It was just so stupid. My gosh. Now, before I get to the 7th grade one, there was one incident in either 7th or 8th grade. I can't remember the exact year, but I know there was one incident in middle school there. From a moment that the bus driver actually eventually caught. There was one day where I was sitting, usually I sit in the front half of the bus, because I just like to get the fuck out of there instead of waiting everybody, filling up the line, waiting till everybody's off the bus, and I have to wait to the end of the line to finally get off, because that happened all the time. There's one incident where there were 2 guys sitting behind me, and for no reason, they decided to start pulling my hair out. Just pulling out one hair by bit, and I could feel that every staying point, boom. And I remember jumping up, turning around, and screaming at them to stop pulling my hair out. They tried putting their hands up oh, we're not doing anything. Bus driver pulls forward a bit more, continues driving. And again, the hair pulling continues, and at that point, the bus driver stopped. And he grabbed those two kids and pulled them out in front to the front of the bus. Like, we're not doing anything. But he looks at me and he's like, nah, bullcrap. I saw you guys in the mirror. Because remember, those buses have those gigantic long mirrors right there ahead of them so they can look up there and see behind them. And he could see them that time, the second time around when they were pulling my hair out of my head. Thankfully, it wasn't a whole lot of hair. It was like a few handful of strings, but I could still feel him and he saw what happened. So nice try, fuckboys. Now, 7th grade. The worst grade of my life. This was where bullying kicked in hard during that time. And I can still refer to what happened in middle school as bullying because I feel you should only use the term bullying when you go through, like, before you become an adult. Like, when you're going through at school, you can consider that bullying. So, 7th grade was beyond god-awful. Okay, like, I fucking hated riding the bus because with the buses that we had, there were 2 buses that you ride because the last 2 buses that were out in the parking lot, like the far side, whichever one you get on depends on the first name of your last name. So A through M were on one bus, N through Z were on the second bus. Of course, I was on the second bus. And that one was loaded as shit with people. However, not only was the bus driver a bitch, but so were all the people that I had to deal with on the fucking bus, because everybody on that bus made my life a living hell in many ways. I'm talking points where people were pulling my ears and flicking them constantly, messing with my hair, throwing shit at me, constantly trying to steal my backpack on a constant basis, and I'm talking like they were constantly also throwing a ton of stuff like pens, batteries, food containers, everything, and the bus driver didn't do a fucking thing about it. She's trying to say, I'm focused on driving. It's like, bitch, check the fucking camera that's watching the whole goddamn thing. Because I know people probably haven't seen the buses in a while, but when you go right up there in the front, you got that big box of a camera that's pointed out to watch the bus on the inside too. So it's like, she didn't even bother ever checking the cameras to see what was going on. Like, this was a daily fucking occurrence. And she didn't give a shit. Like, I remember there was one day where somebody's trying to grab my backpack, and I just remember I jumped up and screamed at him the word, back off, dipstick, and she got the audacity to yell at me. Bitch, fuck you. My shit's almost getting stolen, and I'm trying to defend myself, and you don't give a shit when people do shit to me, but I say something to defend myself, not even using profanity at the time, and you yell at me? Fuck you. I hated this bitch. There was even one day where I had enough and I decided to go on the other bus, but then the bus driver, after we got dropped off at the high school to go switch buses, because that's what we had to do at that point, you get to high school and then you get on a different bus to eventually come home. She was like, what's your last name? I give her my last name. She's like, yeah, you need to ride the other bus. And I'm just like, why? It's like the bus driver on that other bus was the worst ever. Like, oh my fucking god, I hate that bitch to this day. And I remember there was one day as well that always stuck to me. We were dropped off at the high school. Everybody's trying to get off the bus. In fact, that also reminds me of one other bit from that school year. Somebody said something that pissed off the bus driver. She's like, hey, who said that? And it's everybody in unison, for whatever reason, started jumping up and screaming and blaming me, saying, it was him, it was him. Because again, everybody fucking hated me for whatever reason in middle school, to the point where they're treating me like shit on a daily basis and looking at me as a target. Like, I was practically public enemy number 1 to everybody for no really known reason. It was just like everybody's looking for a reason to make me miserable. They're like, it was him, he said it was him, we blame him. And then the next day I get on the bus, I didn't even know what the fuck was said or what she was pissed off about, and she forced me to sit up front of the bus. I'm just like, I didn't even say anything. She's like, I don't care. And she made me sit at the front of the bus. If this bitch is listening to this, fuck you. You're the worst bus driver in history. Fuck you. And there was also one guy that I remember, like, to finish off this 7th grade portion of it, that on that bus that I fucking hated. I'm not going to give his name, but I fucking hate him. But I remember, like, when you get on off the bus, of course, everybody's walking in a line. This one specific dipshit, I don't know what his deal was, but he always figured, hey, because I'm bigger than you, I'm going to deliberately cut right in front of you every damn time, even if there's no space. I'm going to force myself in front of you to get off the bus before you. Every fucking time. Because again, this guy's a dick. Fuck you with a dildo if you're listening to this too, dude. Anyway. Again, like, I hated 7th grade so much. 8th grade. I remember there were 2 odd things about that school year. First of all, with the place that I was living at, we had 2 specific locations at that point to where the bus stop was. You had the front area and the one that's more in the middle area, which was around where the mailbox area is. Because, like, with the mailboxes, they were inside of a little, like, a bit of a building there. So it's like, if you were cold as hell, like outside in the winter, you could just wait in there for the bus. Because usually when the bus picks up people, it was like right behind the building. But you either had one of those 2 locations. I lived closer to the mailbox area, so if I had to go to the bus stop, normally I was assigned there. But for whatever reason, in 8th grade, they decided to assign me to go wait in the front area, which was further away. And I also hated doing that for 2 reasons. 1, because of the distance. Of course, nobody wants to walk a long distance. But 2, because there were a lot of people that are picked up at the mailbox area compared to the front bus stop area. And the front bus stop area got picked up second between the 2, because by that point, when the bus driver is leaving the front area, where the bus stop area is in the front area, that's where the doors are facing. So that way, she doesn't have to wait for everybody to cross in front of the bus to pick them up. So she'll come in the front, go through a couple streets, go around the back of the mailbox area, and that's where they'll pick up the kids for the first stop, and then come back to the front area and pick up the remaining kids, because then again, they don't have to cross in front of the bus. So it's just like, why make me go to a farther away location, and why would I want to wait to get on the bus? Because if I have to do the second bus stop by that point, the bus is already full, like of kids and everything, and again, people hated me, so they did not want me to sit with them. So it's just like, it's going to make it hard for me to find a seat, so I would deliberately go against the instructions of the postcard that says, hey, you have to go to the front bus stop, the front entrance area. Like, no! Instead, after a while, I decided to go to the fucking mailbox and nobody gave a shit. Fuck that. But then the other weird thing I remember was that exact same school year on the first day. So we had to pick up middle schoolers and high schoolers on the same bus. But for whatever reason, it was at least on the first day, the bus driver decided only to pick up the high schoolers, saying that he was instructed to only pick up the high schoolers. So us middle schoolers are standing there like, how the fuck do we get to school? And afterwards, there was another bus that also picks up kids that came around behind it. This guy's pissed off, and he's like, you guys should have gotten the bus. It's like the fucking bus driver wouldn't take us. He was instructed to only pick up high schoolers. We told him, like, no, it says here high schoolers and middle schoolers. Like, no, I'm only instructed to pick up high schoolers. And it's like, dude, fuck you. So that covers 8th grade. 2 other mini stories. I don't remember the exact grade in high school, but there was one year where the popular song that kept playing on the bus because of the radio was Party in the USA by Miley Cyrus, who I cannot stand to this day because she sucks. And every time it plays on the bus, there were girls in the back of the bus that scream, turn it up, because they want to hear it louder. And I just scream, turn it off! I don't want to hear Party in the USA. I'd rather hear Party in Nowhere. Because I hate that song. Fuck that. And then the last story I got. 12th grade. In fact, this kind of also mostly happened a lot through at least parts of high school, was that with the bus I'm on, that bus easily gets loaded with people, because at this point, this was by the point I already had to change, where my family and I moved, so we changed school districts. So instead, you go from the high school on the bus to the middle school, and then you get on the bus that you got to go home from. Like I said, my bus that I had to get on at the middle school, it easily got full no matter how soon you got there. And when I was in high school, I always took that very first bus in the parking lot area, that would leave out of there just to try to get to the middle school as soon as possible. But even no matter how many times we got there, like early as possible and anything like that, my bus always got there right afterwards, and it quickly got full of people to the point where it's impossible to get a seat. So because of that, throughout at least the last part of senior year of high school, I started fucking walking home by the time I got to the middle school. Like, I had times even in high school where I did that, so that going from high school to home, that's like a 2-mile walk there. Like a bunch of times from school because I didn't know what bus to get on. And then when I got to high school, when it's in 12th grade and everything, by the time we got to the middle school, I could easily see that bus is full. I'm like, I'm not riding the bus, and I would walk home, so that's probably like no more than a mile. And it's just like, after a while, I started doing that every day after the first few months of senior year, because I'm just like, I'm not riding on a bus where I can't get a seat because it's so fucking full so easily because we got so many people on it. There's like, even in the winter, I'm walking home, summer, everything like that, because it's just like, I'm not going to that shit. Fuck that. But anyway, I know that's kind of probably like a big quote-unquote story time episode, talking about all these memories and everything, but it's just like, I hated the bus so much. And I'm sure there are people got their own stories too of hating the bus. If you've got your own stories from your history with bus transportation in school, any grades whatsoever, let me know in the comment section below. It could be one story, it could be a bunch. Share them off in the comment section, and I will catch you all hopefully in whenever the next time I do an episode of this podcast. So, thanks for listening, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace out, and good day, everybody.